The crystal wine glasses clinked as my mother's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the mahogany dining table. That sound still haunts me, the prelude to the moment she tried to buy off the love of my life. I'm Gianna, and this is the story of how my parents' attempt to protect our family's reputation spectacularly backfired. That evening started like any other forced family dinner at the Murphy estate. The chandelier cast its usual golden glow, the silver was polished to perfection, and my mother, Viviana, wore her favorite pearl necklace, the one she fidgets with when she's about to destroy someone's life. More wine, Ian? She smiled, all teeth and no warmth. Ian glanced at me before accepting. Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. Please, call me Viviana. Another clink of her rings against the glass. Warren and I have been meaning to have this conversation with you for some time. My father cleared his throat, straightening his tie. I should have known something was wrong when he actually showed up for dinner instead of working late at the office. Ian, my father began, you seem like a decent young man, hardworking, respectful. But, Ian set down his fork, but you must understand our position. My mother's voice turned silk smooth, her danger voice. Gianna comes from a certain background. There are expectations. I felt my stomach drop. Mother, don't. She raised her hand to silence me. Warren, the envelope, please. My father pulled out a thick white envelope and slid it across the table. Ian didn't touch it. What's this? He asked, though I think we all knew. Consider it an investment in your future, my mother said. $100,000. Tax free, of course. All we ask is that you redirect your attention elsewhere. The silence that followed was deafening. I couldn't breathe. Ian's face remained perfectly composed, but I saw his hand tighten around his water glass. Mrs. Murphy, he said quietly, I love your daughter. She's not a transaction. Don't be naive, she snapped, mask slipping. Everyone has a price. Name yours. Ian stood up slowly, napkin placed carefully beside his plate. Thank you for dinner. I think it's best if I leave now. Sit down, my father commanded. We're not finished. Yes, we are. I stood too, reaching for Ian's hand. We're both leaving. Gianna? My mother's voice cracked like a whip. If you walk out that door with him, you're choosing to throw everything away. Everything we've built, everything we've given you. I looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time. The only thing I'm throwing away is the illusion that you ever cared about my happiness. We walked out together, Ian's hand steady in mine. It wasn't until we reached his car that he told me what my mother had whispered to him when she caught him alone in the hallway. I've already called every major firm in the city. No one will hire you. Your little construction company? I'll make sure it never gets a permit approved. You'll watch Gianna resent you as you drag her down into mediocrity. Is that what you want for her? I expected to see anger in Ian's eyes as he recounted this, but instead there was something like pity. She doesn't understand, he said simply. She thinks everything can be bought or threatened into submission, but not this, not us. That night, as we sat in his modest apartment planning our future, my phone buzzed with text after text. The final one, from my mother, read, You'll regret this pathetic choice forever. Don't come crying back when you're living in squalor with that nobody. I turned off my phone and curled into Ian's arms. They're going to make our lives hell, I whispered. He kissed my forehead. Then we'll build our heaven somewhere else. What I didn't know then was that this was just the beginning. My parents would spend the next several years trying to break us, to prove they were right. They would nearly succeed in destroying Ian's business, would cut me off from family events, would paint me as the cautionary tale at every society gathering. But karma has a way of coming full circle, and 7 years later, when their empire of cards came crashing down, they'd learn exactly what the nobody they tried to buy off had become. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't serving it cold, it's serving it in a crystal glass they can no longer afford. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let me tell you about the war they started, thinking they'd already won. The social execution was swift and brutal. Within weeks, my sister Amy's wedding became the stage for my public shaming. I wasn't invited, of course, but the photos were everywhere, splashed across social media like a perfectly orchestrated reminder of what I'd lost. Did you see the spread in the society pages? My friend Jessica asked, sliding her phone across our tiny kitchen table. They're calling it the wedding of the year. I glanced at the image of Amy in her designer gown, standing beside Kirk in front of our family estate. My mother beamed at them, wearing that same pearl necklace. The caption read, Murphy heiress weds respected investment banker in fairy tale ceremony. Fairy tale, I muttered, pushing the phone away. More like carefully curated fiction. That morning, I'd received the official letter from the family lawyer. Per the terms of the Murphy Family Trust, your status as beneficiary has been formally terminated. No surprise there, but it still stung. Ian came home from work covered in drywall dust. His construction company was hanging on by a thread after my mother's systematic campaign against it. Hey, he said, kissing my cheek. Bad day? The trust letter came. He started washing his hands at our kitchen sink, the one that dripped no matter how many times we fixed it. We knew it was coming. That's not all. I pulled out my phone, showing him an email from my old boss. Remember that consulting position I was up for? Suddenly they're going in a different direction. Your mother? Has to be. She's making good on her threats. The apartment felt smaller than usual that night. We'd moved in 3 months ago, all we could afford after being cut off. The walls were thin enough to hear our neighbors arguing about bills, a fitting soundtrack to our own financial struggles. My phone buzzed. A text from Amy. I miss you. Can we talk? I hadn't spoken to my sister since that dinner. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but something made me reply. Coffee tomorrow? We met at a small cafe far from our usual upscale haunts. Amy looked expensive and uncomfortable, fidgeting with her massive engagement ring. You look, well, she said, clearly struggling to find a compliment that wouldn't acknowledge our drastically different circumstances. You can say it, Amy. I look poor. That's not, she sighed. Mom and Dad are worried about you. I laughed. No, they're worried about their image. There's a difference. They're trying to protect you. Kirk knows Ian's background, his family's history. There are things you don't know. Stop. I held up my hand. I know exactly what Kirk knows, which is whatever story Mom fed him to justify their behavior. Amy leaned forward, lowering her voice. They're willing to reconsider. If you just apologize, admit you made a mistake. A mistake? My voice carried enough that nearby tables turned to look. The only mistake was believing our parents capable of basic human decency. You're being dramatic. Am I? I pulled out the trust termination letter. Was this dramatic? Or the calls to every firm in the city? Or having Dad's friends block Ian's permit applications? Amy had the grace to look uncomfortable. They're doing it because they love you. No, they're doing it because they can't control me. There's a difference. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of my mother's latest social media post. So proud of Amy and Kirk, showing what real love and success look like. Some choices lead to prosperity, others to regret. I showed it to Amy. This is your idea of love? She stared at her coffee. I'm sorry. I just, I miss my sister. I miss mine too, the one who used to stand up for me before she married for money instead of love. As I stood to leave, Amy grabbed my hand. Wait, this came for you. She pulled out a weathered envelope. It's from Grandmother Rose. Mom tried to intercept it, but I saved it. Our grandmother, Mom's mother, had been largely absent from our lives. Mom rarely spoke of her, except to criticize her common ways. That night, after Ian fell asleep, I opened the letter. Inside was a key, a bank account number, and a note. My dearest Gianna, your mother did the same to me, tried to control my life, my love, my choices. I refused to let her win. This is your legacy, not the trust they dangled like a weapon, but the freedom to build your own path. Use it wisely, with love and pride, Grandmother Rose. Attached was a bank statement showing a modest but significant sum, not enough to solve all our problems, but enough to start fighting back. I held the key, feeling its weight. Sometimes the smallest things carry the heaviest significance, and sometimes the people you're taught to dismiss end up being your strongest allies. You want to do what? Ian stared at me across our kitchen table, grandmother's bank statement between us. Buy foreclosed properties, I repeated. Fix them up, sell them for profit. But here's the twist: we target the neighborhoods where all those country club families have their summer homes. Ian's sister, Emery, who'd been quietly sipping her coffee, suddenly grinned. Oh, that's deliciously petty. I'm in. It's not just petty, I explained, spreading out my research. These areas are gentrifying fast. The old money crowd is losing their grip because they're too proud to adapt. We can succeed precisely because they think we're beneath them. Ian studied the numbers, his contractor's mind already calculating possibilities. With your grandmother's seed money and my construction experience, and my real estate license, Emery chimed in, we could actually make this work, Ian finished. We started small, one dilapidated Victorian mansion that the Blue Bloods considered an eyesore. Ian's crew transformed it while Emery handled the paperwork. I put my business degree to use, managing finances and marketing. 6 months later, we sold it for double our investment. Did you see who bought it? Emery burst into our office, waving the closing documents. Margaret Wellington, Mom's biggest social rival. I couldn't help laughing. The same women who'd snubbed me at charity galas were now unknowingly filling our bank accounts. The next 2 years passed in a blur of renovation projects and strategic acquisitions. We kept our company name subtle, our operations quiet. No flashy advertising, no social media presence, just steady, methodical growth. One morning, as I reviewed our latest property portfolio, Ian's business partner, Joseph, walked in looking troubled. You need to see this, he said, placing a folder on my desk. I was reviewing some ownership records for that new beachfront property, and I found something interesting. I opened the folder and froze. There, listed as a silent partner in several high end developments, was a familiar company name, one connected to Kirk, my brother in law. That's not all, Joseph continued. These investments, the numbers don't add up. It's like they're using these properties to hide money. Or launder it, I murmured, remembering Kirk's mysterious offshore accounts. That evening, I received an unexpected call from Emery. Turn on Channel 7, she said without greeting. Now. The news anchor's voice filled our living room. Breaking news in the financial sector as questions arise about potential irregularities in several major investment firms' real estate holdings. The camera cut to Kirk leaving his office, ducking into a car while reporters shouted questions. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of my father, looking ashen. Holy shit, Ian whispered. My phone buzzed again. Amy this time. Her text was frantic. Are you watching this? Please call me. I don't know what to do. I showed Ian the message. Should I? He squeezed my hand. Your call. I dialed Amy's number. She answered on the first ring, her voice thick with tears. Kirk's not coming home, she sobbed. He said he has to handle something in the Cayman Islands. Dad's not answering my calls. The FBI was at our house, Gianna. Breathe, Amy. Tell me everything. As she spoke, pieces clicked into place. Kirk had convinced our father to invest heavily in his schemes. Now the whole house of cards was teetering. Mom's pretending everything's fine, Amy continued. She hosted bridge club today like nothing's wrong, but I saw her checking the accounts on her phone. Something's very wrong. After hanging up, I sat in silence, processing. We'd built our success quietly, honestly, while they'd constructed a facade of wealth on fraudulent foundation. You okay? Ian asked softly. Remember that dinner? I said. When they offered you money to leave? Mom said we'd end up in squalor. He nodded. Look at us now. I gestured to our tastefully appointed home office. And look at them. Joseph called again the next morning. There's more, he said. That property portfolio I showed you? Your father's company has been using it to inflate their assets. When this breaks, they're going to lose everything. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt strangely hollow. That afternoon, I drove past my childhood home. My mother's luxury car sat in the circular driveway, but something was different. The gardens, usually immaculate, showed signs of neglect. The fountain was dry. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. When I answered, I heard something I never expected. My mother's voice, cracking with tears. Gianna? I I need your help. I gripped the steering wheel, 7 years of hurt and anger crystallizing into something colder, clearer. Of course, Mother, I replied smoothly. Let's meet and talk about it. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. I was in our office when every screen suddenly lit up with the headline: Major investment firm under federal investigation for fraud. Below it, a photo of my father being escorted from his building by FBI agents. My phone exploded with notifications. Old friends, distant relatives, even former classmates, all suddenly remembering I existed. I ignored them all until Emery burst in. You need to see this, she said, turning up the volume on the TV. A reporter stood outside my parents' estate. Sources say the investigation centers around falsified asset valuations and potential tax fraud involving offshore accounts. The scheme, allegedly orchestrated by prominent banker Kirk Simpson, reportedly involves several high profile families. My mother appeared in the background, hurrying to her car, a scarf covering her face. No designer handbag this time. No driver. Your sister's trending on Twitter, Emery added quietly. I checked. Amy's last social media post, a photo of her and Kirk at a charity gala just 2 days ago, was flooded with comments. Most were brutal. Ian walked in, phone to his ear. Yes, Joseph, I understand. Keep me posted. He hung up, looking grim. They're freezing all connected assets. Your father's company, Kirk's investments, everything. What about their personal accounts? I asked. Already done. They can't touch anything until the investigation's complete. My phone buzzed again. Amy? Where are you? She demanded when I answered. At work. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Her voice cracked. They took everything. Our cards are declined. Kirk's gone, actually gone. He left a note saying he's sorry and then vanished. Mom's having a breakdown, and Dad just sits in his study drinking. I closed my eyes. What do you need? Money? Just enough to. No. Gianna, please. I have nothing. They froze my accounts too. I can't even buy groceries. You have a house worth millions. Had, she corrected bitterly. The feds seized it this morning. Something about proceeds of crime. I heard shuffling, then my mother's voice came on the line. Gianna, baby, please, we need you. The same voice that once told me I'd regret choosing Ian. The same voice that threatened to destroy us. Need me? I kept my tone neutral. Or need my money? Don't be cruel, she snapped, then caught herself. I I mean, please, we're family. Family? I laughed. Now we're family. Not when you tried to buy off Ian, not when you blacklisted him from every job in the city, not when you cut me out of everything. Silence then. I was wrong. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong about everything. No, Mother. What I want is for you to feel what we felt: every rejection, every closed door, every night wondering how we'd pay rent. We can discuss this in person, she said, her socialite mask slipping back on. Perhaps over tea? Fine. Tomorrow. My house. Your house? Yes, Mother. The mansion on Hillcrest Drive. You know, the one you called new money tacky at your last garden party? Another silence. That's yours? Ian and I own quite a bit of property now. Funny how hard work pays off, isn't it? After hanging up, I sat back, emotions churning. Ian knelt beside my chair. You okay? He asked. No. I showed him my phone, another news alert. They're saying Dad knew about Kirk's schemes for years. He helped hide the money. Are you surprised? No, just, I gestured vaguely. They spent so much energy trying to prove we'd fail without them. And now? And now they're coming to us for help. Ian finished. It doesn't feel as good as I thought it would. Because you're not like them, he said simply. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from an old family friend. Your mother just tried to pawn her pearls. The same ones she wore when she told me you were dead to her. Karma's quite a thing, isn't it? I touched my neck, remembering how I used to admire those pearls as a child. How I'd dreamed of wearing them at my own wedding. Now they were probably sitting in some pawn shop, a perfect metaphor for my mother's fallen empire. They'll be here tomorrow, I told Ian. In this house, asking for our help. He squeezed my hand. What are you going to do? I stood, walking to the window that overlooked our carefully tended garden. I'm going to do exactly what they taught me, make them earn everything. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd tried to buy Ian's departure with money. Now they'd have to buy their salvation with something far more expensive, their pride. They arrived in Amy's old Honda Civic, a far cry from their usual chauffeured luxury cars. I watched from my office window as they pulled into our circular driveway, my mother visibly wincing at the sound of gravel under the tires. Ready? Ian asked, standing beside me. Let them wait a few minutes, I replied. Mother always insisted it was fashionable to be late. When we finally descended the grand staircase, they were standing awkwardly in our foyer. My father's suit was wrinkled, probably the same one he'd worn for days. My mother had attempted her usual polished look, but her roots were showing and her makeup couldn't hide her exhaustion. Your home is lovely, she managed, eyes darting around our meticulously designed interior. Thank you. The chandelier is French crystal, like the one you used to have. She flinched. Good. Shall we sit? I gestured to the formal living room. Maria, please bring tea. My mother's eyes widened at our housekeeper, the same one she'd fired years ago for being too familiar with the family. Maria, she nodded stiffly. Mrs. Murphy, Maria replied with a satisfied smile. I almost didn't recognize you without your pearls. Once we were seated, the silence grew thick. My father cleared his throat. Gianna, we've come to discuss terms? I interrupted. Yes, I assumed this wasn't a social call. Terms? My mother's voice quavered. We're your parents. Are you? I thought I was dead to you. Isn't that what you told Mrs. Harrison at the country club? She paled. I was upset. For 7 years? We made mistakes, my father cut in. We're trying to make things right. No, I corrected. You're trying to save yourselves. There's a difference. Maria returned with tea, served in the same pattern my mother had once claimed was too common for her tastes. I took my time stirring sugar into my cup. The FBI has frozen everything, my father continued. They're saying I could face charges. Kirk, he involved us in things we didn't fully understand. Did you understand enough to help him hide money offshore? He looked away. My mother jumped in. We need $2 million, she blurted, just until this misunderstanding is cleared up. Misunderstanding? I set my cup down with a sharp clink. Is that what we're calling federal fraud charges now? Please, she whispered. We have nowhere else to go. Like we had nowhere to go when you blacklisted Ian from every job in the city, when you forced us to start from nothing. That was different. You're right, Ian spoke for the first time. It was different. We earned everything we have, honestly. My father stood suddenly. Now see here. Sit down, I commanded. He did, shocked by my tone. You want my help? Fine. But we do this my way. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the coffee table. What's this? My mother asked. Terms. First, you sign over any remaining assets as collateral. Second, you make a public statement admitting everything the fraud, the cover up, all of it. Third, you apologize, not just to us, but to every family Kirk's schemes hurt. That's ridiculous, my mother exploded. We'd be social pariahs. As opposed to federal inmates? My father picked up the papers, reading carefully. And if we agree, then I'll help you. Not with money, that stays frozen until the investigation ends, but with lawyers, housing, basic necessities. We'd have to live like, like we did, I finished for my mother, when you forced us into a tiny apartment and celebrated our downfall. She began to cry, perfectly mascared tears rolling down her cheeks. Once those tears would have devastated me. Now they felt like confirmation. You have until tomorrow to decide. I stood. Maria will show you out. Gianna! My mother grabbed my hand. Please, I'm your mother. I looked down at her desperate face, remembering every cruel word, every orchestrated humiliation. No, you're a woman who gave birth to me. There's a difference. You taught me that. After they left, Ian held me as I finally let my own tears fall. Was I too harsh? I asked. They're still standing. That's kinder than they were to us. My phone buzzed. Amy. They just left your house, she texted. Mom's hysterical. Dad's talking about accepting your terms. I've never seen them like this. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked to our window, watching their borrowed car disappear down our driveway. 7 years ago, they'd tried to buy Ian's departure with money and threats. Now they were learning the true cost of their actions. And this was just the beginning. The doorbell rang at midnight. I opened it to find Amy, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a bottle of wine. Really? I gestured at the bottle. That's Dad's favorite scotch. Took it from his study. She slurred. Last bottle. Figured I'd steal it before the feds did. I let her in, watching her stumble to our living room couch. Why are you here, Amy? To stop you from destroying our family. She tried to look fierce, but mostly looked broken. Haven't they suffered enough? Suffered? I laughed. You mean like having their credit cards declined? Welcome to how the other half lives. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She attempted to pour the scotch, but spilled some on our coffee table. Their humiliation. Their pain. Like they enjoyed watching Ian and me struggle? Like you enjoyed playing the perfect daughter while they tried to break us? I never what? Never joined in when mom called me a disgrace, never laughed at their jokes about Ian's common background, never flaunted your perfect life with Kirk? At least I didn't marry beneath me, she shouted, then immediately covered her mouth. Beneath me? I stepped closer. Kirk's beneath federal investigation. He abandoned you the second things got tough. Tell me, Amy, how's that working out for you? She crumpled, tears flowing freely. He's been cheating on me for years with his secretary, his clients' wives, anyone who'd have him. I knew. I always knew. But the money made it worth it? I was trying to make them proud, she screamed. Everything I did, the perfect marriage, the society parties, the charity boards, was to make them proud, and look where it got me. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maria appeared with an elderly woman I hadn't seen in years. Sadie? Amy gasped. Our former housekeeper nodded grimly. Hello, girls. I brought something you need to see. She placed a weathered shoebox on the table, removing old letters and photographs. Your mother fired me 15 years ago, Sadie said, after I caught her doing to another young woman what she did to you, Gianna. What do you mean? Sadie handed me a photograph. In it, a young woman stood with our mother, both smiling. Your cousin Rebecca, she was engaged to a school teacher. Your mother offered him money to leave, just like with Ian. When he refused, she destroyed his career. Rebecca never recovered. I remember Rebecca, Amy whispered. Mom said she had a breakdown and moved away. She died, Sadie said flatly. Alcohol poisoning. Your mother attended the funeral wearing those damn pearls, talking about poor choices and family disappointments. My hands shook as I read the letters, Rebecca's desperate pleas to our mother, begging for acceptance, for help, for understanding. There's more, Sadie continued. Your mother's been playing this game for decades, controlling, manipulating, destroying anyone who threatened her perfect image. Just then, my phone buzzed. Joseph's name flashed on the screen. Gianna, he said when I answered. You need to see this. That property audit we did? Your parents' estate? It's technically owned by your company. What? Kirk transferred the mortgage through a series of shell companies trying to hide assets. The last transfer, 6 months ago, it landed in one of your subsidiary holdings. They don't even know they've been paying you rent. I put the phone on speaker, watching Amy's face as Joseph explained the technical details. Her expression shifted from shock to something like awe. You own everything, she whispered. The house, the grounds, everything they have left. Karma's a patient accountant, Sadie remarked dryly. Amy stood, swaying slightly. What are you going to do? I looked at the photograph of Rebecca, then at Sadie's weathered face, and finally at my sister. Really looked at her. Behind the designer clothes and society manners, she was as much a victim of our mother's manipulation as anyone. I'm going to do what should have been done years ago, I said. I'm going to make them face every person they've hurt, starting with Rebecca's parents. They'll never survive it, Amy said. They'll survive exactly what they forced others to endure. I picked up Rebecca's letters, and this time they'll do it without the pearls, the mansion, or the social status to hide behind. Sadie nodded approvingly. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their actions. Amy reached for the scotch again, but I moved it away. You have a choice too, I told her. You can keep defending them, or you can help make this right. She stared at the photograph of Rebecca for a long moment. I want to help, she finally said. I want to be on the right side of something for once. Good, I said, pulling out my phone to call Ian. Because tomorrow we're going to give them exactly what they always claim to value most, the truth, served cold in front of everyone who matters. The dining room where they once tried to buy off Ian became the stage for their final humiliation. My parents sat where they had 7 years ago, but now they looked small, diminished. No more designer suits or perfect makeup, just two people facing the consequences of their actions. The camera crew is ready, Joseph announced, adjusting his tie. The PR statement is prepared. My mother's head snapped up. Camera crew? Did you think this would be private? I settled into my chair. The same way you privately spread rumors about Ian or privately destroyed Rebecca's fiance. Please, my father started, but I held up my hand. Rebecca's parents are in the next room, along with three other families you've heard over the years. They're all here to witness your apology. You can't, my mother began. I can. I own this house now, remember? Every stick of furniture, every crystal glass, even that chair you're sitting in, it all belongs to me. The door opened and people filed in. I recognized Rebecca's parents immediately, her mother's hands shaking as she clutched a framed photo of her daughter. Behind them came others. Thomas, the teacher whose career my mother had destroyed, Sarah, whose small business had been crushed by my father's vindictive banking policies, and more. My mother's face went ash white. Warren, she whispered to my father, do something. There's nothing to do, he replied, finally showing a glimmer of understanding. Except what we should have done years ago. The camera's red light blinked on. Joseph nodded to me. Read it. I pushed the statement across the table. Word for word. My mother picked up the paper, her hands trembling. I, Viviana, acknowledge and apologize for. She stopped, tears smearing her mascara. Keep reading, I said coldly. Like you kept talking when Ian tried to defend himself. Like you kept spreading lies when we struggled to survive. We deeply regret our actions, she continued, voice breaking. The manipulation, the deliberate destruction of relationships, the financial sabotage of innocent people. Rebecca's mother sobbed quietly in the background. Our daughter Gianna and her husband Ian, my mother's voice caught on his name, have shown us what true success looks like, not through cruelty or social manipulation, but through honest work and integrity. My father took over reading when she couldn't continue. We ask forgiveness from those we've hurt, though we know we don't deserve it. Everything we claim to value, status, reputation, social standing, was built on the pain of others. The room fell silent except for the whir of the camera. I stood, smoothing my dress. Now, I said clearly, look at Rebecca's parents and tell them what you did to their daughter. Gianna, my father pleaded. Enough! Enough? Was it enough when Rebecca begged you to stop? When she wrote letters asking for help? When she died alone because you convinced everyone to abandon her? My mother broke. I'm sorry, she screamed, mascara running down her face. I was wrong. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong about everything. Not everything, I replied quietly. You were right about one thing, Mother. Remember? You said I'd regret that dinner forever. She looked up, confused. I do regret it, I continued. I regret not seeing sooner what you really were. I regret every minute I spent trying to earn love from people incapable of giving it. I turned to the camera. The Murphy estate will be converted into a foundation, providing support for victims of financial and social abuse. Every penny of their remaining assets will go toward helping the people they hurt. You can't do this, my mother whispered. Actually, I can, and I am. I reached for Ian's hand. You taught me well, Mother, about power, about consequences, about making people earn everything. Rebecca's mother stood, approaching the table. She placed the framed photo in front of my mother. Look at her, she demanded. Look at my baby. My mother stared at the photo, then at me, finally seeing the parallels, the pattern, the destruction she'd caused. The cameras will stop rolling soon, I said softly. The statement will be released to every major news outlet. Your social circle will see exactly who you are, and then. And then? My father asked. Then you'll do what Ian and I did. Start over. Build something real. Or don't. but you'll do it without the mansion, the money, or the power to hurt anyone else. I nodded to Joseph, who stopped the recording. As people began to file out, my mother reached for my hand. "You've become so strong," she whispered. I pulled away. "No, Mother. I always was strong. You just never saw it because it didn't fit your version of power." Standing in that dining room, watching them crumble, I finally felt the weight of 7 years lift. Not because I'd destroyed them, but because I'd stopped them from destroying anyone else. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about making sure the story ends with you. The video went viral within hours. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications, messages, and calls from reporters. I switched it off and sat in our garden, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Tea?" Ian appeared beside me, two steaming mugs in hand. "Thanks." I took one, breathing in the familiar scent. "Have you seen the comments?" "Some. People are calling you everything from a hero to a monster." "And what do you think?" He settled next to me on the bench. "I think you did what needed to be done. Not just for us, but for Rebecca, for all of them." My phone buzzed again, Amy's special ringtone. I answered. "Mom's at my apartment," she said without preamble. "She's different. Keeps looking at old photo albums, crying over pictures of us as kids. Regret tends to do that." She asked about Rebecca's foundation, said she wants to help, if they'll let her. I closed my eyes. "And you believe her?" "Actually, yes. She's broken, Gianna. Really broken. Maybe that's what needed to happen." A car pulled up to our gate, Joseph's sleek black sedan. He walked over, holding a manila envelope. "The papers are ready," he said, handing them to me. "Once they sign, everything transfers to the foundation, the house, the remaining assets, all of it." "Have you heard from Kirk?" I asked Amy, still on the line. "He's in custody. Turned himself in at the embassy in Singapore. Apparently, he's cooperating with the investigation." I hung up as another car approached, a taxi this time. My parents stepped out, looking oddly small against the backdrop of our estate. "They're here," I told Ian. "Want me to stay?" "No. This needs to be just us." They walked up slowly, my mother clutching her handbag. Not designer anymore, just plain leather. "The papers?" my father asked quietly. I nodded toward the envelope. "Everything's outlined exactly as we discussed." My mother sat heavily on the garden bench. "I visited Rebecca's grave today. First time since the funeral. Left these there." She opened her bag, pulling out the pearl necklace. "Seemed fitting." "Why now?" I asked. "After all these years, why show remorse now?" "Because I finally saw myself," she whispered. "In that video, watching it played back, I saw what I'd become, what I'd always been." My father picked up the envelope, started signing. "We've been talking," he said between signatures, "about making amends, real ones, not just public apologies." "How?" "By telling the truth," my mother said. "All of it. To the investigators, to the families we hurt. No more hiding behind lawyers and social status." I watched them sign away everything they'd spent decades building. It should have felt triumphant. Instead, it felt quiet, almost sad. "You know what the worst part is?" My mother looked up at me. "We could have had both. The success, the status, but real, earned like you and Ian built. We chose the easy way, the cruel way, and we lost everything that actually mattered." "Including you," my father added softly. A warm breeze rustled through the garden, carrying the scent of blooming roses. Ian's roses, planted with his own hands when we first bought this place. "You haven't lost me," I said finally. "You lost the daughter who desperately sought your approval, but you never really had her anyway." "And now?" my mother asked. "Now you have a chance to know the real me, the one who survived your worst and built something better, but you'll have to earn it, just like everything else from now on." They nodded, understanding the weight of those words. "The foundation board meets next week," I continued. "There's space for 2 more volunteers if you're serious about making amends." "We are," my father said. "Then prove it. Not to me. To them. To Rebecca's parents. To everyone you hurt." They stood to leave, but my mother turned back. "That dinner," she said, "when we tried to buy Ian off. You said you regretted not seeing us sooner for what we were. Yes? I regret not seeing you sooner for who you are. Strong, compassionate, better than we ever taught you to be. After they left, Ian came back out, carrying fresh tea. Okay? He asked. Getting there. I leaned against him. You know what's strange? All those years, I wanted them to suffer like we did. But now you want them to learn like we did. Is that weakness? He smiled, pulling me closer. That's growth. And it's why you won. Really won, not just got revenge. The garden lights came on automatically, casting soft shadows across the roses. Somewhere in the distance, a car horn honked, a dog barked, normal sounds of a normal evening. We should plant more roses, I said. We should, Ian agreed. And this time, maybe they can help. I nodded, understanding the metaphor. Some things need to be torn down completely before they can grow back stronger, healthier. True.